Commission of Inquiry on the creation of new regions to begin public sitting on Tuesday, November 21.
Police MTTD records increase of 23.24 cases in motorbike accident. To bring you details of that.
Also ahead this evening, 2 teacher unions issue 7-day ultimatum in demand of document explaining why district assemblies will control basic schools from 2018.
And also in business evening, Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko justifies government's intention to switch all power generation from liquid fuels to gas.
And on the international front this evening, Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe holding talks with South African negotiators over his future. We've got the details of these stories for you here on News 360, including the latest from the world of sports and entertainment. Remember, this bulletin is streaming live all across the world on 3news.com, as well as TV3 Ghana on Facebook.
Let's on to our first stories this evening. The Commission of Inquiry on the creation of new regions will, from Tuesday, November 21, begin a public sitting. Representatives from the 4 regions seeking to be reorganized are to come and defend their petitions and explain why they should be accepted. Meanwhile, the Commission has started reviewing petitions from the Western, Volta, Bunahafo and Northern regions.
The 9-member Commission of Inquiry, inaugurated last month, has already begun its work by reviewing petitions presented to it by the 4 regions. According to the Minister for Regional Reorganization and Development, Daniel Botwe, it has become necessary that the representatives justify why their petitions should be accepted.
The Secretariat of the Commission is at the Castle, Osu. For the next week, that's where they will start. 21st Western Region, 22nd Volta Region. There were 2 petitions from Brown Ahafo Region. So the first petition is what will take place on 23rd. The second one will be on Tuesday, 28th November. On Wednesday, 29th, they will take the 5th one, which is a petition from Yabonra on behalf of the chiefs and people in the part of Northern Region. The last one, that will be the 6th petition the Commission members will meet, will be from the Nairi of the Mamprosi area.
This would be followed by public hearings and stakeholder consultations in the regions, and also to educate the populace on the process and modalities involved.
This is a process that you cannot, by any stretch of imagination, impose it on anybody. And even if a leadership of a people asks for this request, it will be validated by the people themselves. So if you don't get 50% of your people to come out to vote, and if the 50% also do come out, if you don't get 80% to say yes, even though you have sent the petition, you won't get it.
The Commission is expected to present their report to the President in 6 months, after which a referendum will be held in accordance with Article 5(4) of the Constitution. What remains unclear is how much the state will be spending on this exercise.
Because it is being done by various state institutions, they submit their budget as and when they are assigned a responsibility to do.
The attempts to create new regions are in fulfillment of the New Patriotic Party's campaign promise to carve new regions out of the Bunahafo, Western, Northern and Volta regions.
Now, government has begun the process for the creation of 38 new districts and municipalities. The Minister for Local Governance and Rural Development, Hajia Alima Mahama, says the creation of these districts will not necessitate the creation of constituencies.
In February 2008, more districts were created and some were upgraded to municipal status. This brought the number to 170 districts. Further 46 districts were added on June 28, 2012, bringing the total to 216 districts. Many have criticized the decision for the creation of more districts, stating it will only burden government's wage bill. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly, for instance, is expected to see the elevation of 3 of its sub-metros, namely Ablekuma, Ayawaso and Okaikoi, to the status of full assemblies. The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly will also have its sub-metros like Oforikrom and Ishaiso given full assembly status. Minister for Local Governance and Rural Development, Hajia Alima Mahama, says this is to deepen the democratic process and further decentralize the system.
The municipal assemblies, so municipals have certain population categories, and in our development process, we would tend to have secondary cities and have different sort of resources to help them support their development in the secondary systems. So if you have municipal status, it enables you access certain resources.
She indicated no new capital will be created.
We are not creating new assemblies, it's just elevating their status to municipal. So that category is there. And within the metropolitan assemblies, some have grown big, and the president thought that, look, let's also carve some out and make them their own municipal.
According to her, provision has been made for these 38 districts in the 2018 budget when it comes to policies such as one district, one factory.
Of course, when the 38 district established, they've been part of the process before. It's not as if they were not within the process. If they have already developed some programs or some industries in that fact, they'll just fall within. If they haven't, then it's time for them to put their act together and start thinking of developing their product for an enterprise or for an industry.
Now we'll stay on this issue a little further as Dr. Odro Osang, who is a lawyer and Dean of Graduate Studies and Research at the Institute of Local Governance Studies, is joining us on set to describe this some more to us and explain it some more to us. Doc, grateful.
Thank you.
Well, Doc, you can actually get close. We can understand you're visitor to this.
That's right.
You can go this way just to it, and then you saw that.
Just
that's
come
forward.
Okay.
That's to the other side, absolutely. And
Good.
then you can help us through it.
Yes.
Okay. When you look at our constitution, it is clear that government has the right to create regions, but then it can be based on demand or not. Under the circumstance, we are told that it is based on demand. And now government has received 4 petitions. One of the petitions is coming from the chiefs and people of the Volta region. And you can see the Volta regional map here. It stretches from the top to the down there, and there is 1 petition. Now the other petition, we are told, was received from the chiefs and people from the Western region. And you look at the Western region, it stretches from Bia East down to secondary Takoradi. Sure. So when you look at the stretch, it tells you that even administering Bia East from Takoradi would be difficult. Sure. Now they have submitted a petition. It is up to the Commission of Inquiry to go into the petition and establish whether there is a need and a substantial demand for that. Right. Once they establish that need, then they would advise the president to go ahead with the creation. Then after that, we also have 2 from the Brong-Ahafo region. Let us note that from the Brong-Ahafo region, we have 2 petitions. From the Volta, 1 petition, Western region, 1 petition, Brong-Ahafo, 2 petitions. Absolutely. Now, these 2 petitions are also before the the Commission of Inquiry to look at it. The Commission of Inquiry will first have to meet with those who signed the petition. Right. It is very important they meet with them in camera, or they can meet with them in open to be able to clarify certain areas of the petition before they move to the regions to do wider public consultations. Because the petitions were signed for and on behalf of a group of people, by certain people. And it is right for you to clarify certain things from the people.
I would assume that it's going to be easier with the regions that had just 1 petition, to justify whether or not the region should be created. But how about the regions that had 2 petitions? how will the Commission of Inquiry ensure that they address the 2 petitions upon the creation of just 1 district?
Definitely. What is going to happen is that the 2 petitions, my understanding is that, are requesting for the creation of 2 separate regions. So one petition is requesting a creation of a region for them. The other petition is for the creation of another region. So what the Commission of Inquiry, my understanding is, would do is that they would invite them, then ask them to speak to the petition, define the exact geographical boundaries within which they think they can create the regions. Then the Commission of Inquiry will look at it, validate it, go out there, talk to the people, and on the basis of that, advise the president.
But Doc, we know that there's also been concerns by some experts to have 3 regions, in fact, from the Bono-Ahafo region, saying that looking at the size, it can be separated into the western side of the Bono-Ahafo region, the eastern, and the center of the region. That those have been concerns raised by some experts. Do you foresee that actually taking shape?
That will be very difficult, at least under the present circumstance, because the Commission of Inquiry is going to advise on the basis of the petitions before them. So that if there is no petition before the Commission, it will be extremely difficult for them to advise the president to create a region when there is no petition before them. So for now, the baseline is that the Commission is going to make recommendations on the basis of the number of petitions before them.
Certainly.
I see. So we'll probably have 2 more to see.
The northern region.
Yes.
Well,
right.
The northern region too submitted 2 petitions. So then again, the Commission will look at the size of the northern region and then make their recommendation. I must say that of all the petitioners, the northern region has the largest land size when it comes to using land size to make a recommendation. Right. I do not know the criteria or the factors that the Commission of Inquiry will take into consideration in making their recommendation to the president. But when you look at land size, the northern region is about the largest of all of them by way of land size. So I was surprised they received only 2 petitions.
You were expecting more?
I was expecting 4 petitions from the northern region, looking at the land size alone.
That is if the land size is going to be used as a criteria.
As a criteria. But then it goes beyond that. They use the land size, they can also use the population and other factors. However, they cannot take away the land size, because if you create a new region, you need enough land for the office infrastructure, and new businesses that will move their offices to the region should be assured of the availability of land to develop. So the land size is one of the important factors that I would advise the Commission to take into consideration.
Fantastic.
Yes. And Doc, we have the last one.
The last one, yes. From the Ashanti region, the Ashanti region never submitted a petition. So my understanding is that while they never submitted a petition, it will be extremely difficult for any region to be created out of the Ashanti region. Now, if they want to create a region out of the Ashanti region, then we go through the Constitution and invoke the provision in the Constitution that allows His Excellency the President to consider the creation of a region even when there is no petition.
I see. Because I'm looking at the Ahafo North area, and my colleague Catherine Frimpong earlier on gave us an indication that from informal sources, we could have Ahafo North, that's the western part of the map you see
Ashanti
there,
region.
Of the Ashanti region, cut out to be part of the Bono-Ahafo region, because you're already closer to the Bono-Ahafo region. Is this something that is going to happen, at least with what we see?
It can happen, but it will also depend on the president. It will also depend on the recommendation given to the president by the commission. And it will also depend on the results of the referendum. Remember, the creation of the region will not be complete unless the referendum is held. And then when the referendum is held, the affected people will have to vote. 50% of qualified voters must vote. 80% of the 50% must vote in favor. When they have not submitted a petition, how do you think they will come out to vote on a petition they haven't requested? So those are the things we need to consider. But it is not an impossibility. It can be done. But the factors that should be taken into consideration are legal.
Yeah, Doc, certainly some have raised the concern that this is quite unnecessary and it's going to be a cumbersome process. So how do you think it's going to affect on our decentralization process, being a governance practitioner yourself?
If you look at decentralization and local governance, which means bringing governance closer to the people, the creation of regions will rather deepen decentralization. It will bring governance closer to the people. But it is not only about the creation that will bring governance closer. If you create and you don't resource them logistical-wise, it will be difficult for them to bring the governance closer to them. So my advice is that even as we create regions to bring governance closer to the people, we should think about resourcing them to have what it takes to bring governance closer to the people.
I see. But it was also about the 38 new districts that Parliament has used the LI on. Some people think that, look, I mean, it's going to increase the pressure on the public purse. We're going to appoint new DCs and send new officers there. What do you think about this? Is this necessary?
Democracy is expensive. We are doing well at the national level, but local democracy, we are not doing well. Districts can be elevated to become municipality if the population changes. Districts are supposed to have minimum population of 75,000, municipality 95,000, metropolitan assembly 250,000. So that if the population threshold of a district goes beyond 75,000, there are two things that you can do. You can either elevate them to become a municipality or divide them into two, all in a way of bringing governance closer to the people. Now, the resource-wise, it is expensive, so we should look for the money to do it if we believe in democracy.
Absolutely. Well, if we believe in democracy, that's the 38 new district. But Doc, I want to thank you. I'm sure it's grateful.
Thank you.
You've been our guest anchor for today, running us through this one. But I'm grateful.
I'm grateful.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Eric Oduor-Asare, taking us through the process and what this really means with the creation of the proposed creation of new districts, for you to understand what exactly to know and what goes into this. Away from that, 1,683 people have been killed through road crashes between January to October 2017. The figure is a reduction over last year's same period, which saw 1,760 persons killed.
Over 10,000 accident cases were recorded between January and October this year across the country. Out of the number, 1,413 were fatal. 6,610 commercial and 7,246 private vehicles were involved in the crashes. The Police, Motor Traffic and Transport Department is more worried about the pedestrian knockdowns, which saw an increase by 19.44% from 2,305 to 2,753 same period. Another worrying trend is that of accidents being recorded by motorbikes. According to the Police MTTD, motorbike accident cases in the year under review was 2,864 from 2,274 same period 2016. The increase is by 23.24%. Even though motorbikes are banned for commercial use, there appear to be a lot more of people using them for commercial purposes, but DSP Alexander Obeng says it will be difficult to completely do away with them. Regionally, Accra recorded the highest accident cases with 4,275, followed by Ashanti region, with the Tema region recording the least accident cases. The figures given are obviously worrying, but one thing remains clear. During the Yuletide, we have accident cases increasing, but it is the hope of the police that this time around, the accident cases will be stabilized. Evelyn Tingma, TV3 News, Accra.
Now, 2 teacher unions have issued a 7-day ultimatum demanding government issue a document that will explain why district assemblies will control basic schools from 2018. Reacting to the 2018 budget statement, the National Association of NAGRAT Teachers, NAGRAT and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers say any delay after the 7 days could trigger industrial disharmony.
In the budget statement, government indicated that from next year, district assemblies would control basic schools. It again stated that the senior high schools would solely be under the control of the Ghana Education Service. Currently, Cabinet is still discussing a new bill to that effect and would soon be tabled before Parliament. However, barely 48 hours after the pronouncement, 2 teacher unions have rejected the idea. According to the Coalition of Concerned Teachers, CCT, government should explain whether the district assemblies will be recruiting or paying the teachers.
If they say they want to give it to the district assemblies, does it supposed to mean that it is the district assemblies that are now going to employ the teachers and pay them, said that their salaries will not come from the central pool from controller? Or how is it going to be like? It must be well explained. I know that these things are part of the Local Governance Act. It's also part of the decentralization system that we want to bring into Ghana.
The National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, is asking government to explain how transfer grants would be paid if the new policy is rolled out next year. They have therefore given government 7 days to furnish them with the new policy for their input or risk their wrath.
We are writing a letter to the Minister of Education to give us the document that is before Parliament within 7 days for us to study the document and make our input into that document. We will not give support to any policy that we have not made input in. In fact, we take this issue very, very seriously as a union.
In another development, both unions have implored government to find alternative and sustainable sources of funding for the free SHS instead of setting up a voluntary fund.
I'm just looking at how that voluntary fund will be able to yield like 100 million Ghana cedis, 200 million Ghana cedis, 1 billion Ghana cedis. Even our taxes in itself, for a whole year, how much does it yield? For you to talk about how much that voluntary fund will yield for the funding of free SHS.
We will raise hue and cry when the funds are not available in the schools timeously. The absence of funding in the schools will truncate the process of teaching and learning, and which will affect our children whom we superintend over in the various schools.
I commend Media General for standing as the leading English station in Ghana and contributing to strengthening the democracy of the country, unquote, quote unquote. These were the words of Minister of Information Mustafa Hamid when management of the Media General Group paid a courtesy call on him in Accra.
The Media General Group is the mother company of Ghana's leading English channel TV3, Onia 95.1 FM, 3FM 92.7, Akoma 87.9 FM, Connect 97.1 FM, 3news.com, and Adisa Productions. TV3 Network prides itself in the provision of unbiased, comprehensive news and educative entertainment programs. The reports and programs developed by the Media General News team have contributed to the development of deprived communities. 3FM's Let There Be Light campaign is one of such latest initiatives, seeking to get streets across Accra lighted. Minister for Information Mustafa Hamid praised TV3 for its balanced reportage over the years.
You are generally fair. Continue to be fair to the facts and not allow your sympathies, wherever those sympathies may lie, even if they are MPP sympathies. Never allow those sympathies to influence the stories that you put out. That way, we can all build a very beautiful country.
The minister noted World Press Freedom Day 2017 would be marked in Ghana. He called on the Media General Group to play a key role in deepening democracy through its reportage.
What distinguishes autocratic societies from democratic societies is the existence of free media. You are the defining, if you want, characteristic of our democratic environment, and you ought to be proud about it.
Group CEO of Media General is Pearl Isiomensah.
We have a national agenda. One of the things that we bring out, the government probably may not even know that this is what is going on. And in bringing it out, you get the opportunity to resolve the issues that are at stake. We don't, as a nation, cover enough regional news. We have regional news programs that are coming up, and it's an opportunity to put in information that is of interest to Ghanaians, and Ghanaians should know about.
Okay, so let's go on to Skype now. Petanti is the Executive Director of the Institute of Education Studies, and we're going to get into education and what the budget talks about. Ms. Petanti, thank you. Good evening to you. We're grateful for joining us. Now, there's a proposal for the establishment of an education fund, of which some of you have raised questions about its being able to solve the problems with the implementation of the free senior high school. Exactly what's your position on this?
Good evening. I think that first we need to go back into the 2017 budget and check something that the government said. Page 151 of the 2017 budget said, and I read, Mr. Speaker, we would initiate discussion with all stakeholders interested in the performance of their senior high schools in their communities, parents, school alumni, religious organizations, the diaspora, will be encouraged to establish a funding mechanism to support high schools of their choice. This will reinforce community involvement in governance and improve the quality of education. Now, come 2018, the government has said they want to start what they call the Voluntary Education Fund. What I think the government is trying to do is to find ways and means to bring together the pool of resources that normally goes into the various schools and make it more well planned out so that the schools will benefit. You know, the introduction of the free SH has made it impossible for parents to pay more than the prescribed PTA fees. Now, if there is any way to support your school, already the alumni are doing that, philanthropists are doing that. What I think the government wants to do is to bring all these sources of income together to support the various schools. But one thing that the government should note is that some of the schools that are in the system, the alumni are supporting. There are other schools that they are not getting any support from anywhere. So the modalities and the mechanisms that this particular fund would operate should be made available for all of us to share ideas. I don't think that this is actually a means to fund the free SHS. I think this is a means to improve infrastructure and promote quality education in the secondary schools.
Fair. Zanzi, thank you very much for this one. You've gone ahead of me, a very comprehensive answer to this. I'm grateful. Petanti is the Executive Director of the Institute of Education Studies. Let's find out how the weather will be throughout the night into tomorrow morning.
You're still live here on News 360. We've got some business news for you shortly. Stay with us.
All right, so you're still watching News 360. Good evening to you if you just tuned in, and thanks for joining us. It's time for Business Now. My name is Nanekia Mensah Brampa. And looking at the aftermath of the Ejuma budget, government has justified its decision to go silent on the price of petroleum products in the 2018 budget statement. Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko explains the decision is key in ensuring that consumers of petroleum products are not short-charged.
The price of petroleum products is seeing a consistent marginal increase throughout the year, with the latest increase experienced in September. Petroleum products went up by some 3% across the board, with price of crude currently selling between $60 and $62 a barrel. Prices of petroleum products are expected to go up between 3 and 11% for the second pricing window of November. The developments, according to petroleum consumers, should cause government to remove taxes on petroleum products. But that was not mentioned in the 2018 budget statement. Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko justified the decision not to include issues of petroleum price build-up in the budget.
Rome was not built in a day. We have looked at some of the numbers in petroleum, and we are confident that as we make the necessary reforms and adjustments in the petroleum, particularly downstream, we will be able to come up with gains that will translate to the consumers benefit.
When are we likely to see this?
I'm not a prophet. I do not put time on things. We are working hard at it, but the sooner we can get it to our citizens, the better.
Deputy Finance Minister Kweku Kwarteng said the many interventions made in the 2017 fiscal year should be enough for the petroleum consumer.
Last year, we abolished excise duty on petroleum. We reduced the special petroleum levy from 17.5 to 15.5. I think Ghanaians are enjoying that, and I am happy for them.
He noted the long-term outlook for businesses are bright.
In 2018, 100,000 jobs for graduates who are unemployed. In 2018, we are cutting electricity tariff by an average of 13% for domestic consumers, 21% for businesses, so that businesses can grow and create the jobs for those who do not have jobs. What else could Ghanaians be more happy about?
But a ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament, Adam Mutawakilu, is throwing caution.
Last 2 months, I told government that look at the price build-up. Taxes alone is about 50%. What did the minister say? We cannot do anything with the taxes in the petroleum build-up. As we speak today, petroleum prices are going by about 5%. When you criticize a previous government for doing something, then you come in and you now pretend as if you didn't. That is why we have a problem. When we passed ESLA, that resulted in an increase in petroleum prices. They said this is a nuisance tax. When we come, we'll scrap it. Today they are using it for a bond, which has even failed.
Well, in a related development, the Energy Minister Boakye Ejiakor says government's intention to switch all power generation from liquid fuels to gas. Now, he explained gas will be critical in Ghana's quest to expand industrialization of the economy.
Ghana's gas master plan is for natural gas to be used for domestic and transportation fuel as well as power generation fuels. Environmentally, gas burns cleaner than liquid fuels. The development of industries in the country on a wide scale will hinge greatly on cheaper energy supply. Energy Minister Boakye Ejiakor has stated government's resolve to make the main power generation fuel.
In so doing, reduce the cost of generating power by between 15 to 20%, which will then immediately translate into lower prices for electricity for our citizens.
With the coming on stream of gas from 10 fields, Ghana is becoming a gas economy, thus facilitating flexibility in usage of gas.
We are looking at using gas to develop our petrochemical industry. We are also looking at using gas to develop our agrochemical industry, so that we can begin to manufacture fertilizer, urea, and so on out of our natural gas. I think that it is going to do us a world of good if we do that.
Energy Minister Boakye Ejiakor noted the need to create a linkage for natural gas to be used as a raw material for the bauxite and the aluminium industry in value addition.
And I think that once we have that gas, we better devote a good portion to it in order to make sure that our bauxite has some value addition. The value of bauxite is not in its export, but converting it into the downstream products of aluminium frames, cables, and all the whatever. So gas is going to be very critical in the expansion and industrialization of our economy.
Right, and the African Development Bank, under its transformation of the African Savannah Initiative, is turning savannah regions in Africa into vibrant economic hubs. Now, the bank is investing heavily in commercial agriculture processing and alternative energy sources to power production machinery to boost production.
Under its transformation of the African Savannah Initiative is kickstart scientific innovation and technological-driven commercial and irrigation agriculture in June 2018. It is pre-testing the program in the Northern Savannah Ecological Zone of Ghana, which covers 54.4% of the land space. This includes a total of over 8 million hectares of arable land, 400 billion cubic meters of runoff water annually. 200 hectares of land is earmarked for development by June this year. The Feed Africa project under the initiative will leverage on the expertise of successful agrarian nations, modern farming technologies, and risk education for sustained increased production and processing.
It's focusing on hubs, what we call hubs. Hubs for production and value addition. There are three phases. The first phase is to introduce new technologies. We have technology providers from Brazil, local ones. We're going to introduce that technologies. The next phase, introduce commercial growers, companies that are very well known for producing poultry, very well known for processing soybean and maize.
The bank is also looking at alternative energy sources to shore up production at the least cost. The new Africa's development paradigm has since been launched.
The only issue is whether this nice drafted policy would not stay in various offices and gather dust.
We now have reached a stage where integrated value chain and then, of course, growing the commercial scale agriculture in an evolutionary way.
The bank is collaborating with government's regional development body, SADA, and the Ministry of Agriculture.
We have to think of a vision of transformation. We have to speed up economic growth. We have to move away from a structure which is simply only 80% agriculture. There has to be a growing share of services and a growing share of industry, because it is this mix of economy that provides the jobs.
The initiative is hoping to develop 100,000 hectares of land by 2019, and the result will be replicated in the other 24 Savannah African countries.
There's more news on our website, 3news.com. That will do for business tonight. My name is Nanikia Mensah-Brampa. More on News 360. Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome back to News 360 here on TV3. My name is Anako Jafre with the sports update for you. Let's get into the details now. Ghana captain Asamoah Gyan says has several businesses initiatives as part of a broader plan to avoid the fate of many ex-footballers when he quits playing.
To add an airline, Baby Jet Airlines, to his businesses, which includes a boxing promotion company, a food and beverages company, and an events business. He says the inspiration for that comes from the desire not to go broke when the football days are over.
Most retired footballers don't have anything, after football, you know, and it's very, very difficult to cope with this kind of life. You know, somebody who has been there before and then after the career, the person hasn't got anything doing or something, or the person hasn't have something to eat, you know, or any business that generates money or something to take care of the family. I think I've been thinking of all these things, you know. So what I decided was to just plan something that I can rely on after retirement, and that is what people are seeing right now.
He told TV3 he's hoping the airline, which is due to take off next year, will become a significant player in the Ghanaian aviation industry. Gyan's plans for the airline was first revealed by Ghana's President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in a move that the record Ghana goalscorer says highlights just how important footballers can be for the country.
Since the President has said it, I had to just take it in good faith. I was very, very happy. And then I think it's advises all the young ones coming up, you know. Sometimes people might think footballers cannot do anything after football. You know, I think it will boost the confidence of most of the young players coming. It will encourage them to also learn what they are seeing right now. You know, some might even do better. You know, so I'm just praying for everybody.
Gyan's venture into business is a path that many big names in African football have taken after football. Ex-Ghana international Samuel Osei Kufuor is heavily involved in real estate in Ghana, while Didier Drogba is a part owner of a football club in the United States of America.
Meanwhile, Communications Director of the Ghana Football Association, Ibrahim Sani Dara, has joined the long list of Ghanaians appointed to various CAF committees. Sani Dara, the Ghana Football Association Deputy General Secretary and spokesperson, has been appointed to serve on the CAF Media Experts Panel. The 12-man committee is in charge of media at CAF, was reconstituted to replace its media committee as part of the reforms of the new executive committee. Last month, a number of Ghanaians, notably Leponura Alhaji MND Jawula, GFA Vice President George Friye, Fred Crintle and Felix Ansong Abedi Pele were appointed to various committees of CAF. Adriana Stars have completed the contract extension of goalkeeper Joseph Addo. Addo's contract was due to expire at the end of the season, but the Black Stars goalkeeper has agreed to stay on for the next 3 years. The goalkeeper, who joined the Doma-based club 2 seasons ago from Kotoko, was handed a new contract in order to help the club in next year's CAF Champions League. The 2018 FIFA World Cup draw based on the FIFA rankings table. Africa are hugely represented in Pot 3 by Tunisia, Egypt and Senegal, whilst Nigeria and Morocco are placed in Pot 4 for the draw on Friday, December 1. And that's all the sports here on News 360. My name is Anako Jaffe. Thanks very much for watching. Always a pleasure serving you. Good evening.
Welcome back to News 360. And segment this evening, we bring to you the mood of some parliamentarians as the Finance Minister presented the 2018 budget reading.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, all these things escape our lenses, but you can trust those who are right to bring it to you. But it started with auditions where hundreds of young ladies hope to get a chance to represent their regions. It came down to 10 who took off with the live shows. On Sunday, 4 will grace the big stage in an unprecedented sign-out finale of Ghana's Most Beautiful.
The ladies set out on the competition to grab the cash, the car and the crown. Representing the 10 regions of Ghana, they each brought their A-game on, but gradually eviction sent 6 out. It's been 3 full months of intellectual discourse, judges drilling, criticisms and praises, audiences cheer and applause, as well as emotional moments. These 4, however, have made it to the finale and are each looking forward to give a final showdown to make their regions proud. This is where the contestants have been living for the past 13 weeks, going through all forms of grooming and rehearsals to give you a good show each and every Sunday. Now, finally, on Sunday, November 19th, the 4 finalists will battle it out for the ultimate crown. Join them at the Accra International Conference Center as one of them takes over from 2016 winner, Yaba. Ghana's Most Beautiful 2017, straight out of Ghana.
was certainly promising to be very exciting. The entertainment team of Media
Especially
General
when you see a drama.
I know.
We're back with some more. Do stay.
Zimbabwe's opposition leader Morgan Tsvangirai says President Robert Mugabe must resign, but sources suggest the president is resistant. President Mugabe has been holding direct talks with the army over his future. Pictures emerge of the 93-year-old meeting the army chief and 2 envoys from South Africa at his official residence in Harare. The army put Mr. Mugabe under house arrest on Wednesday after moving in to take control.
Let's stay with this. Todd Maforimbo is a Zimbabwean human rights activist and joins us via Skype. Todd, good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. Now, does it look like we're going to have Robert Mugabe heed to the call to step down?
Well, that's anyone's guess because Robert Mugabe is very stubborn, but calls from all corners of Zimbabwe are that Robert Mugabe should go. But obviously, SADC has stepped in and we know that they are Mugabe's friends. So he's trying to use that leverage to try and remain in office. But the calls from all corners of Zimbabwe are loud and clear, Mugabe must go.
How are ordinary Zimbabweans reacting to this development, I mean, with what you've been picking so far?
Well, the surprising thing is ordinary Zimbabweans are, for once, very accommodating of the army. They're loving the army. They're supporting the army. They're saying it's about time they did something to, to alleviate the suffering of the Zimbabweans. All over Zimbabwe today, all Zimbabweans are happy. It's business as usual. It's just Harare, obviously, where we have road closures because Mugabe is being difficult. But ordinary Zimbabweans are happy of this, piece of progress, really, because it opens the way for us to start doing things that we never could otherwise do because of the ZANU-PF intimidation led by Mugabe.
How far can you see this going? I mean, can Zimbabweans push this to the point that you want it to be?
Well, it's a new dawn in Zimbabwe. This is something that has never happened before. And the generation that we have right now, people my age, we've only ever known Robert Mugabe as president. He's been our only leader. So we are tired of the old ways of him doing things, the oppressive ways that he does things, the way people disappear, the way people are maimed, killed, the way ZANU-PF intimidates people, the way ZANU-PF kills people, and the way they've taken all the resources of the country. So we are prepared to push back. We're even planning a massive demonstration on Saturday coming, where all the Zimbabweans are actually going to go out onto the streets and make it very clear to SADC that we do not want Mugabe anymore. We've had enough. We don't want any more of him. We don't want any more of ZANU-PF, and we should be allowed to make the decision, that how we want to progress. Because if you remember, in 2008, when the elections were rigged, we asked SADC to get involved. They told us that we were a sovereign state and we had to deal with it. So we're politely asking SADC to stay out of this one as well, so we can deal with Mugabe by ourselves.
Todd, thank you very much for your time, Stephen. I'm grateful. Todd Maforimbo is a Zimbabwean human rights activist joining us via Skype there, talking about it. But that's it for the news this evening. Came to you live on News Hub here at Desire. My name is Alfred Akanse.
And I'm Natalie Forth. There's more news on our website, 3news.com. And news at 10 this evening will simulcast on 3FM and 92.7. Next is Tashan. Have a lovely evening.